morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to this week's Weekly Energy Boost. My name is Elisheva, and I am here today with Eitan, and we are breaking down the secrets of how to know when to listen. This conversation couldn't come at a more beautiful moment in terms of the energy and the opportunities that the universe is offering us. We have the combination of the middle of the month of Aquarius, and for those of you who know Aquarians, they're great at hearing, but not necessarily listening to what they hear. I feel like I'm getting a PhD. I have 2 Aquarians at home, and it's a beautiful journey for me personally. And hopefully I can share some of that wisdom with you all today. But also, the opportunity exists for us in this week's energy to strengthen not only our ability to discern the guidance, the positive guidance versus the negative influence from external sources, but also to tune in and be honest and clear about the voice inside each one of us, the true voice, the voice of our soul that is constantly guiding us, pushing us toward elevation, powerful opportunities, and expansion, and how to not confuse that with the other voice that many of us push up against every day that we call in Kabbalah the voice of the opponent. So this week is going to be full of opportunities to both tune in, discern, and also choose the path, the broadcast that we want to listen to. Weekly Energy Boost is a 7-day spiritual weather forecast in which we provide our listeners with the most powerful and practical tools to navigate the coming 7 days. We do that by gleaning through the wisdom of Kabbalah and extracting the tips and tools and also stories from our own experience, as well as working with others on this path to support you in applying what we share. And inevitably, every episode offers lessons and tools that you can use anytime. So this week, we're really looking at the main influence of the biblical portion of Yitro, which it's telling us something unique about what he did and that energetic imprint that Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, had on humanity, on strengthening the abilities and the gifts, the capabilities that we have, as well as the full moon of the month of Aquarius, which is unique of and within itself. So we have a lot to unpack today. Eitan, where should we begin?
I think one of the questions that some of our listeners would ask, because often we're saying, while we're interacting all day long with people, be mindful that the most important relationship is between you and the light, between you and the Creator. And some people would say it means, yeah, I need to be kind to people, I need to listen to people, but the most important thing, I want to hear the Creator within me. And to find a balance in that, indeed, at the end of the day, the indications of growth, that I'm raising my consciousness, more trust, more loving, more open, more giving, unconditional. But how does the Creator communicate with us? Through many different ways. It can be a voice, a gut feeling in our heart. It can be a challenge that we're going through. But very often it can be the conversation that we have with other people. We're here to inspire each other. We're here to be example for each other. We're here to be wake-up calls for each other. We're here to challenge each other. But at the end of the day, the one that's presenting the people around me, next to me, is the light of the Creator. So the topic tonight really is about what does it mean to be open, not just to hear someone next to me, to listen from place of being open to hear what's the message of the Creator in that conversation. So for example, if we connect it to the portion of the week, Jethro, the father of Moses, was a high priest of dark and black magic. It was totally in the negative side. And after he heard and he truly listened to what Moses did, what the Israelites did, the relationship with the Creator, the Zohar tells us he was truly open and vulnerable to hear the truth of in his soul, and he was willing to change his path completely and to join Moses in his path. The Zohar tells us many people heard, but few people transformed their ways completely, because each one was really open. Each one of us in our own life have a selective hearing, selective listening. Because deep inside we're afraid to hear something that might be the truth, and it means I have to change. I have to admit. I have to be a beginner. I have to realize, what I've done in the last day was a mistake. So why should I go there? I'm listening. I'm open. As long as it doesn't prove that I was wrong in certain areas, and it can be little conversations or deep conversation. So one of the daily intention between us and the Creator is, please, Creator, I'm hoping through the conversation I'm going to have today, throughout the day, to listen to your messages. If it's comfortable, if it's uncomfortable, if it means I made a mistake, if it means I need to change, if it means I need to relook at some of the major decisions in my life, I'm open. The fact that you inject this intention, not to guard you listening. I want to hear what I want to hear, or I want to hear what I'm supposed to hear to inspire me to the next level. And by the way, it doesn't mean everybody that will talk to me will be words of God that I need to listen to. As Elisheva, I would like to move it to you, because sometimes we're too affected by someone that talk and not actually asking deep inside, is it really ring truth inside of us? But I think the first step is to be open to hear the truth. And open means I'm open with my soul and my heart to feel what's resonating with my inner truth without guarding it.
For sure, this is something that a lot of people struggle with. And for me personally, in the beginnings of my spiritual journey, it was one of the first things that I recognized needed to shift. Is I was so excited to dive right into these teachings and to, like you said, transform anything. If you told me eating purple grapes on Thursday was good spiritually, I would have done it without question. But at a certain point, I realized that the ease in which, and I see this in other people as well, the ease in which a person comes into following instructions, rules, guidance, reading books, how to do this and how to do that, and 5 steps to this and 7 weeks to that. And, you become, in a way, it's funny to use this word, but we become religious about certain things, following the rules or the guidance or the structure or the system, that we stop thinking and feeling for ourselves. And it's very easy in that space to find yourself somewhere completely that you didn't intend to go to. And I definitely, many years ago, it's very easy for me to look at different situations I went through and say, I wish I hadn't done that, or I hadn't listened, or I hadn't gone with that advice, not because it wasn't the right advice, everything worked out in the end, but when you go back to that teaching that really is at the foundation of the wisdom of Kabbalah, that we are here in this physical reality to be the creators, to be the co-creators of our reality, when our reactive nature, when our default is to listen to everyone and everything, we give up that power. And after enough time, the result will be a very hollow and shallow existence because we weren't the ones who chose that existence. We accepted it. We followed it. We received it and we went with it. And so I think that there is an important balance to strike between being open to guidance, suggestions, teachings, advice, consciousness from outside, but use such an important word. Does it resonate with me? And not it doesn't resonate with me because it means I'm going to have to apologize or it means I'm going to have to admit I was wrong or change my ways. But can I take responsibility for this? Can I use what I've heard or the guidance that I received and take even greater ownership of my story, of my life, of my movie? Being the cause and the creator is the reason I was here. So it's a fine line to walk. On one hand, we want to be open and we want to listen, and the universe, the creator, is communicating with us at all times, sometimes through the voice within, but also sometimes externally, giving us signs, signals, messages, inspiration from outside. It happened to me yesterday that I was listening to a class. It's actually a funny thing. I was listening to a class and the teacher went on a complete tangent, like really out of nowhere. And this morning I had a meeting with somebody and they asked me about the exact idea that the tangent was for this another teacher I was listening to. And I was just laughing that, I don't know how many times I've heard, first of all, listened to that lecture before, or how many other people had to hear that. But for me to tune in and notice that's a really strange tangent to go on, totally not connected to the story. I wonder why I'm hearing this. And then really being given the opportunity to share that. So I feel like there's a balance between taking things in, allowing them to be filtered through. Does it resonate? How can I use it? What can I learn from this? And then integrating it into what's important to me, my core beliefs, my values, and what's important to me.
That's great. So I want to give let's share some practical example of conversation to trigger different reactivity within us and different types of tikkun. So one can be that I'm so stuck in my way, maybe the way I'm running a company, or maybe decisions at home with the kids, and I have a conversations, and the person I'm talking to have a different opinion than mine. And maybe I'm right, and maybe I'm wrong, but I catch myself defensive and ready to defend and to answer back. And that's for me a sign, just relax, just take a deep breath. Maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong. Allow the conversations, because the process of conversations and the process of not being reactive and the process of being open to see what will emerge and the process of trusting this process, I'm open to hear and to feel and to allow the truth to resonate for both of us. Sometimes it's a decision of both. So letting go of the guards of it has to be my way and catching myself resisting really this conversation. Actually, listening doesn't mean they're right and I'm wrong. Allowing this exchange of energy, sometimes through argument and through exchange of energy, which I'm not open myself to have, truth will be resonated. Actually, Rav Ashlag saying something very powerful. While there's a concept that we all have to be unified and together, and that's how we achieve things in life, but he's saying also contradictory rule to success. The only successful environment, society, marriage, group of people, spiritual group of people, that you'll allow opposition. Doesn't mean you're going to listen to all. You're allowed to listen to opposite opinions. And if your heart in the right place and you're not coming from ego, these different opinions will allow truth to emerge. And it's very important. A lot of people think unity. You're right. You said so. So I have to listen to you. We'll be together. Unity is that eventually, yes, we'll decide together from place of love. But in the process, it's okay that things are a little disturbing. So this is one example that all of us needs to be open. Can you share other examples?
I just want to ask you a question about that, your example, Eitan. What does it mean about me if I'm getting defensive or annoyed when I'm listening to you?
For me, when I'm defensive or annoyed, it's not always because I don't agree with you, it's because I don't have patience for the process of discussions. You know, I don't have the patience. So depend on the person. So for me, not having the patience for this process, it's not having the patience for the creator, because this process is necessary to allow realizations and clarity. And if I'm running a meeting and my intention of the meeting is just to deliver and to let everybody just be in the same page like me, so there's no point of having a group. There's no point.
And another example that comes to my mind is it often happens, I would say probably most frequently in family situations when an individual makes a decision or needs to make a decision and they feel in their heart or in their soul, you know, this is the right partner, this is the right person for me to marry, this is the right job for me to take, this is the right city for me to move to, this is the right school to send my kids to, so many different choices to make along the way. But then the influence of their family or their close friend raises doubts and causes us to doubt ourselves, to second guess ourselves, even though when we step out of the noise, the choice is clear. We know we're making the right choice. And I feel like, especially in the area of relationships, where, you know, take every individual, let's say every individual, at least of a certain age, we've all been in relationships that haven't worked out, right? So the question is always there in the back of my mind. I made the wrong choice before, and maybe there's a problem with using that kind of language. I made the wrong choice before. What if I'm making the wrong choice again? But also, and I think it definitely depends on the tikkun, the correction of the individual, how easily influenced we are, right? Even though we may have that gut feeling of what the right choice is, many times it's being able, like the work is less, do I listen or should I listen? Should I be open? And like you said, many times it's not about listening. It's about creating that flow, that circuitry, the energy between us. In the end of the day, I can do what I want. But I feel like that's an especially sensitive position for people when their decision is not only going to affect them, right? It's going to affect others as well, family and so forth. But also when you're in your past, you have evidence that you don't always make the right decision, that you don't always take the right advice, that your gut isn't always guiding you to the ultimate place. What do we do then?
So it's very interesting. So first, I think the rule is don't run away from conversations unless you're needy about approval from the outside and you're running towards them. So you presented few tikkuns. Let's say a person's tikkun is, let's say, a typical Pisces, okay? That is too influenced by other people's feelings and opinions. So does it mean I need to run away, not to listen to anybody's opinion? Or it means maybe, okay, it's part of my process. Knowing ourselves, whenever somebody says something that it's not according to what my feeling and my intuition, let's say, it will trigger doubts. But isn't it sometimes the Creator itself help us to make a decision from a deeper place in spite of other opinion? And doesn't mean all the time. Sometimes the doubt that they're raising is truth, but sometimes especially which is even wrong opinion, coming from the wrong place, the willingness to listen it and to smile to myself, wow, it brings doubts. Where are the doubts coming from? Is it coming from really intuition that something is wrong and they touch something truth? And sometimes I don't know, but I'm okay with this unease. That's part of getting deeper to find the truth in my soul. Don't be afraid of that. So that's one typical, when I'm too much of a people pleasing and effective, and then we lose our authenticity. What is really authenticity? Is it I'm appear authentic in the outside? I'm appear listening to the outside? No, authenticity is really being authentic with your true self. At the end of the day, they say something, I'm going to listen to them. I'm not going to, doesn't matter. Your responsibility is to listen to the Creator within you at the end of the day. It's not to appear a listener, a good listener. That's not what this topic really it's about. So that's one way. People tikkun, which they're too much of a pleasers and affected by the outside noise. Other people are the opposite. They're not interested to any volunteers to give me your advice. I'm not interested. I don't have time for you. I know that I'm wrong. And you know what? Let's say you run a company and you have to follow through. You make some decision. There's times for discussion. There's times for decision. There's time for follow through. So, but the fact that you are not necessarily going to listen to them, the fact that it's against your ego, even that somebody has opposite opinion, that's by itself a process, even though they're wrong. That's by itself a process of overcoming reactivity. Because at the end of the day, you want not just to make the right decisions, you want to come from the right place. And very often, you'll have unknowing, critical people, and we had it a lot in the Kabbalah Centre, that coming from the wrong place, but there's two ways to look at this. I can't stand this garbage, or, you know something, oppositions is good for my ego. Even though I don't agree with them, opposition is good for me. Sometimes that's the approach. The fact that you handle oppositions with even deeper certainty about what you do, because you're less attached to people say, people don't say, everybody agree with me, everybody doesn't agree with me. It's a chance to get deeper. It's necessary in life.
Well, I'm thinking, I'm sure there's people who are listening to us that are that type of person, that aren't really interested in other people's opinions or ideas or leave me alone and doing my thing. What are the signs that we're ignoring messages, that we're not listening? How do we catch ourselves before it's too late?
That's a good question. Actually, you reminded me a story. I went once with the Rav Berg and Karen Berg to a restaurant with another couple. And suddenly, Karen Berg turned to the waiters there and asked her an odd question. What's in your mind? Can you show me what's in your mind? And afterwards, and Karen smiled with that woman and said, I forgot what she answered. And Karen said, I was asking a question. I was asking the Creator a question, clarity about something. And I felt that this lady has the answer for me. So always knowing and being with the Rav and Karen, listening to people from curiosity of what the Creator here wants to tell me. It's not just about a question that I have a direction. Sometimes it's about from left field, the answers that I need will come. Creative ideas. I'm struggling with something in my life, and two people will have a loud conversations, an argument, and we'll realize, wow, that's the answer. Are we open to hear what the universe wants to tell us? It says about Rabbi Isaac Luria, he was not able just to listening to people's messages and where they're coming from. He was able to listen to the language of the birds that telling us lessons. He was able to listen to the language of the flames. If you look at every candle of different flame, every fire, it looks different. It's actually communicating with us. He was able to listen to the language of the trees. Everything is communicating to us in a unique way. And as we become truly open to listen, we realize the whole universe, like it says, the whole universe was created just for me. It sounds selfish, but it's not. From the point of view, what is my message to grow, to elevate?
And if I'm just thinking as you're speaking, if all of us had that mindset, how can I grow? What is this message telling me? Why am I hearing what I'm hearing? Think about what a different reality we would live in, right? Like you see what's going on in the world today, and everybody has their opinion, and everybody's pointing at who's wrong or who's the problem. Being more in that mindset of, I know what feels right to me, right? I know what resonates with me. I know what my truth is. And I think that's one of the most difficult parts of this journey is being honest, being clear. First, having those conversations with yourself and being aware of what's true for you, what's real for you, and then operating from that place of openness. I'm here to learn, I'm here to grow, and just being, I feel like if everybody would just do an hour more of that a day, a day more of that a week, the world would look very different. And for that reason, when we share these concepts every week, it's a lot, even though 30 minutes sometimes seems very short. Even if you take one piece of what you heard, right? The funny thing is the podcast didn't exist. It's a relatively new invention, and people are listening and consuming consciousness, information, wisdom, facts at probably the highest rates of all humanity. Something to think about in general also. What stays with you is what really counts. And that's one of the things that I think is important as we close up this week's episode, to think about what's the one thing you can take away with you into your life from what we shared. Or being, sometimes I do this also. I will ask a question or, tell the universe I need clarity or guidance in this particular area, and then randomly choose something to listen to. The answer is always there. So I feel like for all of us this week, if we can take that extra step to paying more attention, being more attentive when we're hearing what we're hearing, when we're listening to what we're listening to. It's a very funny side note. Many, many years ago, I lived like 45 minutes from the Kabbalah Centre, and I used to drive back and forth every day, almost every day. And I listened to a lot of classes on audio cassette, a lot of classes, a lot of lectures each day, finishing at least one, if not two. And one day I was driving to the center and I was hungry, and I said to myself, while I'm listening, maybe I should stop for frozen yogurt. And I was listening to something, but also not listening because I was thinking in my mind. And it was actually a tape of Rav Berg. And when I tuned back into the cassette, I started listening again, the Rav literally said, "You want the frozen yogurt? Go and get the frozen yogurt." Like that's the middle of So I feel like when you're really open, you will get the message that you need. And this week, if we're all going to focus on being more open and trusting the guidance that comes from within, we will experience elevation and growth and expansion. Before we end, there is a special opportunity coming to us this week that takes place once a year. And I would love for us to share a nugget on how our listeners can connect to that unique energy. It's this Wednesday night to Thursday night. So sunset Wednesday to sunset Thursday. It's the full moon of the month of Aquarius, but it has a special energy. Eitan, can you share with us a little bit about how we can take advantage of that?
Yes, briefly. It's called Tu B'Shvat, which is the 15th day of the lunar month of Aquarius, full moon. And it's known to be the Rosh Hashanah, the head of the year of the vegetation kingdoms, of the trees. What does it mean? What does the vegetation kingdom represent? Trees represent? Trees represent central column. Central column is the balancing force that allowing light to be revealed. And what does it mean practically in the day-to-day? Every time we resist our reactive nature, we resist receiving instant gratification because we want it all, because we want closeness to the light. We're not settling for less. We're not settling for just feeling good, winning, being right. We're letting go. We're going against our natural gravity, which is, I want what I want. I'm in pain. I want to fix. I want to be right. I want to put them down. I'm angry. We say, let go of this need for instant gratification because I want the totality. That's called central column, resisting the reactive and opening myself to the light of the Creator. And that's what the trees are. Think about it. Trees gradually and consistently growing against gravity. They're bringing so much oxygen and importance and balance to our planet. So within us, each human being as well, we have that energy intelligence of the trees to go consistently towards the light while we resist the gravity of the ego. So that's one of the gifts of this day, which coming this week.
And how do we connect to that? How do we let in that strength, that increase of support, increased ability to go against our personal gravity?
So how do you connect to that? What is suggested is either Wednesday night or Thursday day, choose fruits like it's known as the fruits of Israel. You can choose a fig or a date or grapes and make a blessing and connect to that and eat that and meditate that actually you open yourself to connect to the vegetation kingdom within you, the power to resist, the power to go against gravity towards the Creator. It's the hardest thing in the world. It looks like we all would like the flow of doing what we feel, but usually the flow of our body, it's opposite of the flow of our soul. The flow of our body is towards instant gratification. So that would be the connection. And meditate before you eat the fruit. That actually you want to connect to the internal energy of the fruits, of the trees, of the vegetation kingdom. Imagine how selfless and non-egotistic trees are. What they bring to us, what they bring, and they're not saying, look what I've done. So that's the energy you would like to connect.
Something so simple, right? It takes a minute, 2 minutes. If you're meditating, maybe 5 minutes. But it's such a powerful connection. And I love the way that the Kabbalists give the internal understanding to the external action. Something so simple as eating a fruit. When you do it in that window, it takes on such a tremendous power. And I hope we'll reap the fruits of that as well this week.
Lazy.
Weekly Energy Boost is available on all podcast platforms, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. You can visit our website, weeklyenergyboost.com, to send us a message, to look into our archives, to read about the things we think are important for our listeners to know about, and to click the donate button to support Weekly Energy Boost. You can also most profoundly support us by sharing this episode with as many people as you think can benefit from these teachings, this wisdom. And as always, we'll see you next week on the Weekly Energy Boost.